the society. You cannot have a revolution without women. You cannot have democracy without women. You cannot have equality without women. You can't have anything without women. With these inspiring words of the late Nawal Saadawi, I would like to summarize the spirit in a nutshell of this very special episode of MENA on the Map. I would like to welcome our dear followers and of course our dear guests. And I truly hope that you've been enjoying throughout the day our Euro-MENA show, but this session will be very special.
I feel lucky today to be surrounded by powerful and daring women from our region. From Lebanon, Luna Safwan, journalist and communication specialist. From Iran, Masih Alinejad, journalist, author, political activist, and women's rights activist.
Masih, I would like to start with you. First, thank you so much for joining us. You've been an inspiration for a lot of women in this region, and you've been an inspiration for me as well. I would like to start with your campaign that you started in 2014, My Silthy Freedom campaign that started on Facebook. And the idea of it is to invite women to photograph themselves without their scarves, and not only activist women, but only ordinary women in Iran. I would like to be very critical on this level and ask you, you live in the West. Why did you start this campaign? You, as Masih, you can walk freely without a headscarf. Why did you start this campaign, and what was the aim of it?
Hi, everyone. When you say that you live in a free country, it breaks my heart, because living in a free country doesn't mean that I have to leave all my childhood behind. I cannot leave all my teenagehood behind when my body was like a hostage in the hands of the government. From the age of 7, I was not the one having control over my own body. So you see, yes, anytime when I run in a free country, when I feel the wind in my hair, when I sing freely, when I dance, when I think freely, it just reminds me of the time. For 40 years, the government take women hostage, and it reminds me of the time when I myself was a hostage in the hands of the government. So yes, you're right. I decided to share my own story as an ordinary woman, not as a journalist, not as an activist. So I remember that I shared a photo of myself showing my big hair, running in a beautiful street full of blossoms. And I just wrote a caption, simple caption, that anytime when I feel the wind in my hair, it just reminds me of the time that even this hair was a hostage in the hands of the Iranian government. And I asked Iranian women if they want to share their own experiences, because we have to get our freedom in stealth, in secret. And I asked women, would you want to expose it? Would you want to break the censorship? Would you want to make it public and just talk about your own body and your choice? That was a question. And I got bombarded by videos, photos from ordinary women who are brave enough to understand that this is a punishable crime. You know, you will get lashes, you will get arrested, you will get punished by sharing videos of yourself unveiled. But women in Iran are like women of suffrages. They are like Rosa Parks of Iran. They know that freedom is not free. They know that they have to pay the price. Some of these women who send me videos like Yasaman Aryani, Sabah Kordafshari, both of them were actually forced to do false confession against me and their campaign, White Wednesdays movement. You know what they say? They said that we are not, because the leaders told them, you're working for Masih. Masih is an agent of the USA government. You know why they said? They said that we are not working for Masih Alinejad. This is Masih working for us. As far as we don't have any media inside Iran, we decided, we have agency, and we decided to share our videos and ask her to be our voices. So to me, this is the most civil disobedience, prominent civil disobedience movement within the society. and I'm just giving them a platform. My dream is to be in Iran, not here in America, and enjoy the same freedom, walking shoulder to shoulder with my mom who wears hijab without getting lashes, without getting arrested. And as far as the women inside Iran are fighting, I'm not going to give up. They arrested my own brother to keep me silent. They took him hostage to punish me, but I'm not going to give up until the day that women inside Iran give up.
Masih, when you did this, were you defying social rules or religious ones?
Oh, that's a very good question. To be honest, I mean, I'm not going to talk on behalf of the women who joined the campaign, but my point was actually challenging the laws, the government, the norm, and some of the extremist family. Like this is a fight that every individual woman has a role, has a part in this movement. So each person who joined the movement, they have their own goal. Let me tell you something. In the Middle East, women are the biggest enemies of extremists. Luna, Russia, from Lebanon, from Iraq, women from Syria, they can confirm that. From early age, we are the enemy of the government because we are challenging their mindset. We are challenging the norms. We are challenging the society. We are fighting every day just to be our true self. So many would naively think like extremists or dictators in the region, they biggest enemies are the foreign enemies, are the foreign countries the most. But that is wrong. And we, the women of the Middle East, are here actually to say that actually women are the biggest fear and threat for such a regime in the region. So for me in this campaign, actually, it was a goal to show that every individual woman are also a nightmare of their government, a nightmare of the, restrict all the discriminatory laws. So that is why I wanted to give the platform to women to practice their civil disobedience, to share their own stories, to gain their own power back. We Iranian women, to be honest, from early age, from the age of 7, we learn that we have two options: to be victim or a warrior. And I think this is a case everywhere in the Middle East, in the region. For the age of 7, from early age, if you say no, from that time, you are going to be a warrior. And you are going to be a threat for your own government. So when we say, my body is my choice, the government starts bullying you, labeling you as enemies. So we are actually, I'm going to actually, if I have time, I want to tell you that why I started.
We can move to that later, but let me ask Luna. Luna, do you agree with Masih? Is it the same situation here in Beirut? I mean, we have seen women in October 17 revolution, and their role was intensified through the participation, and even back in 2005 revolution. But still, this time was different. What has changed, in your opinion, and how women were able to shape the narrative on the Lebanese streets?
It's always a pleasure to discuss the Lebanon issue while linking it to Iran one way or another, especially with Masih, because the two countries have so much in common, especially when it comes to women. If we want to talk specifically post 2015, I've said it before, I always say it, that women in Lebanon decided to take matters into their own hands. When we went to the streets in 2019, it's true that women and men already had many experiences of leading protests or of organizing protests in Lebanon. We also in Lebanon witnessed the Arab Spring. So we watched up close how protests happened in different Arab countries, what successes happened, what mistakes maybe some activists or some groups did, and everyone was critical in the situation in the whole MENA. So we did learn a lot, but this time it felt as if women decided to take matters into their own hands. it did not matter to Lebanese women in 2019. And actually, this lasted up until this day. Wherever you see an organized protest or march, even though they are on a smaller scale today, even though the whole situation changed in Lebanon in the middle of this economic crisis, women are still at the forefront. In 2019, there were women who stood face to face with security forces in Lebanon, trying to protect men, trying to protect their brothers, their friends, their sons, and even men who were complete strangers. It was as if they have had it with the system, with the collapse, with the ruling political parties and elite, with armed political parties that are taking the country hostage in Lebanon and that are taking people hostage in Lebanon. But also, to link it to Iran for a bit, the situation is not very different in Lebanon when it comes to the red lines that you have in the country. Yes, women are allowed to talk, women are allowed to dress freely, headscarves and hijab are not imposed, but at the same time, if some women and activists discuss or dare to discuss certain names or certain issues, them being religious related to politics, they might not be lashed physically, but they are lashed online, they are threatened, they are harassed, they are bullied, and there's a kind of psychological pressure that is exercised on these women to try and force them not to talk or not to express themselves anymore. And if this is happening online today, where we're witnessing all protests kind of moving online because of COVID, because of the economic collapse, then you can imagine what this does not only to women, but to the whole society when it comes to pushing them down or pushing them back, when in fact we managed in Lebanon to push ourselves forward as women for the first time since years. It's been years and have been waiting for this opportunity. So I relate a lot to what Masih is saying. Oppression comes in different types and forms, in different shapes and forms. It might not be religious right now or linked to religion directly in Lebanon, but it doesn't mean that it's not happening or that it's not political in one way or another.
Thank you.
Masih, I would like to go back to you and also reiterate on what Luna was talking about, but also answer. I would like you to answer the question that you wanted to answer. Why are you doing this?
I have to actually tell you that when there was a massive protest in Iraq, in Lebanon, and in Iran, there was main slogan people were chanting. It was against the Islamic Republic. We have to be clear. People sacrificed their life. People actually got shot in the heads. People got killed and murdered to dare to criticize the Islamic Republic. And people in Syria as well, they are fed up with the Islamic Republic. What I want to make it clear here, that dictators in the region are united. And I think this is the time that we, the freedom fighters, we, the women, must be united too. That actually scares the dictators and the regime in Iran and the religious dictatorship everywhere. Because as I said that, it's not just about the laws, it's not just about political battles. It is about women getting the power back, being loud, getting united, and challenging the, challenging the government. So I want to actually give you a personal story that, which is linked to previous question.
Yes.
Because you asked me that why I launched the campaign, and because I am free in America. I want to tell you that as far as you criticizing the Islamic Republic, you're not safe. Doesn't matter. You live in America, you live in Iran, you live in exile in Turkey. Recently, the regime in Iran actually kidnapped one of the journalists, tricked him, Ruhollah Zam, from France to Iraq, and kidnapped him from Iraq, took him to Iran, and executed him. So you see, as far as you're criticizing, it doesn't matter even you're from Lebanon. I am sure that if Luna dared to travel to Iran, She is going to be arrested. They're going to use her like bargaining chip. They're going to, have her like a hostage. So doesn't matter, because a lot of people in the West trying to say that let people deal with it within the society if you live outside Iran freely. That's why I wanted to make it clear. And they launched a smear campaign against me, saying that I was raped by 3 men in London because I undressed myself. So you see, this is the mindset of the government. It means that we, the women of Middle East, have been told years and years and years that if you get raped, it's your fault because you didn't cover yourself properly. And guess what? I had to, same time, I had to fight my own government. I had to fight against the religious people who are extremists saying that, yes, if you were covering yourself, you wouldn't get raped. I had to fight my own family, my mom. I remember that time. And let me tell you for what? For a simple request saying that this is my body. Okay, man, you can watch it, but don't touch it. For this simple request, we are being blamed that it's your fault you get raped. And I remember when Iranian national television made a fake news saying that Masih was raped in front of her son. The same day, I received a phone call from my mom, and my mom was shocked, crying on the phone, saying that you got expelled from high school. I handled that. You got expelled from Iranian parliament as a journalist. I handled that. You got divorced. I handled that. And my mom was saying that you got yourself into a lot of troubles, and I handled them all. But now the government say that you got raped. How can I handle this? I was like telling to my mom that, Mom, look, this is not my fault if I get raped. And mom was keep repeating the narrative of the regime, saying that how I'm gonna look at to the eyes of your aunts, your uncles, because of the honor of the family. And I had to fight my heart was like someone squeezing my heart, telling my mom that, Mom, you have to fight the Iranian national television at the same time, saying that Masih was not raped, but you have to fight with the society. Look into the eyes of my aunts, my aunties, my uncles, and the people in the village, and tell them that if my daughter was raped, it's not her fault, and we have to be supportive. So why I say that, because I want to tell you that, as Luna said, we have to fight like online smear campaign, the laws in the Middle East, the dictators who are united in the Middle East, and the society at the same time as well. And that is very important.
I would like to take this thought, Masih, from you, like saying that the dictators around the region are united. So you're calling for all women around the region to be united. Luna, in your opinions, what are the tools? Masih explained about the societal and the political challenges in Iran, just like in Lebanon, just like in Iraq. These integrated states depends on the situation and depends on the political context. It doesn't matter. What should women do? How can they shape the future of the region? What is the role and what are the tools?
I think the first thing to do is to acknowledge that it's not going to be easy. It's going to be a fight, because as women, sadly, the societies and the leaders in the Arab world has made it their priority, their number one priority, to not to allow women into politics and into the political sphere as much as they should. So we should acknowledge the fact that it's going to be a challenge, it's going to be hard, but it's doable if the one tool that I think of first is the network. To have a very strong support network around the Arab world, around different countries, and to work together on understanding the politics and what is missing in the politics and where can women enter the field of politics. Because if we have to make any kind of change, women have to go into the field of politics prepared with weapons that are not similar to the weapons that the governments are now using, that are tools from technology to innovation, to having ideas about new laws, about cooperations between countries. the borders, laws for refugees, the protection, and all of that. So women need to be supportive for one another through these networks. For example, I met Masih in a network event in 2020, and I had only known her online. I wrote about this Stealthy Freedom, my Stealthy Freedom campaign years ago, but I never imagined that I would meet her. And the moment we met, we were inseparable in the meeting. We were talking about Lebanon, Iran, Iraq as well, with Russia, with different women, with different Iranian women activists and scholars from the region about what should be done, what we are missing, how can we reinforce the idea that women exist, and how can we empower one another. Now, after this comes the most important step, is for women to be more involved in politics. And this is not an easy fight when you have parliaments that are ruled by men, when you have, for example, in Lebanon, and we were just discussing this the other day, the parliament in Lebanon has been, it looks like a kind of society that's been inherited year after year. There are no new faces. So if you are to enter the parliament, and I'm sure it's very similar in different Arab countries, if you are to enter the parliament as a woman, you have to be prepared for the fight, because they will try, the patriarchy will try to take you down as a woman. And it doesn't matter if you're a hardcore feminist, or if you're not a hardcore feminist but you're a believer in women's rights, they will try to take you down no matter what you do. So the strong network in the region, but also the strong network in our countries. This is why I think that women empower women is really one slogan that I agree with 100%. Even when there are differences between women, the last thing they should do is try to take one another down. And that is sadly, and maybe Masih agree with me, that is what so many women who disagree with us try to do in politics. And they don't end up hurting us in politics or in our work. They end up hurting the whole society of women that is trying to push through. It's not only about me. I'm going to go in a few years and another woman will come to replace me, but they will hurt.
In Iran is different.
But,
The biggest
but
enemy of women's rights are those women who the government used them to be in the parliament. Later, I'm going to explain that, Luna.
before I move to you, Masih, Luna, don't you think that in some places women are the number one enemy of women in the Lebanese society?
I'm going to allow for Masih to talk about this and about Iran, but to speak about Lebanon and a little bit about the region. I think that women underestimate sometimes the importance of standing together despite the differences. Because, and this is something that we always discuss, there should be differences. There should be different political parties. To talk about Lebanon, since the 2019 protests, I never said that all political parties should go, should disappear, should be burned down. They shouldn't exist. It should be a dictate, because I would be doing a dictatorship, the same as many other leaders are doing, or many other writers, sadly, journalists are advocating in the region. No, but there should be changes. And for these changes to happen, we women need to acknowledge that, yes, we can disagree, but we cannot disagree to the point of eliminating the efforts of other women. And this is the dangerous part, is that when women ally themselves with entities that are actually oppressing women in other countries, oppressing women in the region, and when women don't stand side by side, in my opinion, in one most important point, which is the importance of secularism and of differentiating and separating between politics and religion. This is the one thing that really women in the Arab region should talk about more, should ally themselves around more, because separating politics from religion means that no one can use religion to take you down as a woman, or to put you in place, you know, in your house, in the kitchen where you should be, wearing a headscarf, not wearing a short or a skirt, because this would get you harassed. So when we separate these two things, I think that women will be able to at least, but this is the very optimistic me, will be able to at least find one small one small point in common in this very diverse society in Lebanon and also in the whole region.
Thank you, Luna. I have to go back to Masih and ask, in one of the videos online, a woman was arguing with a clerk and told him, "I will film you and send it to Masih." It was astonishing to see how many Iranian voices living abroad became somehow a source of refuge. It shows that women need a platform and you are actually providing it. But what is next? Where and how women can instigate change in Iran with the current status quo, especially after what we have seen in the last presidential elections?
That's a very good point. When women actually calling my name and sending videos to me, it's a punishable crime for them. The head of the Revolutionary Court announced that if anyone, men or women, sending videos to Masih Alinejad, they will be charged up to 10 years prison. But as you mentioned recently, there were mothers of those who lost a beloved one in Iran protests. Mother of Puya Bakhtiari, mother of Pejman Gholipur. You know, their son were killed in Iran protests. They never had a platform in Iran. So they were sending videos to the campaign No to Voting because they want to be heard. And why are they doing that? Because they see that we, the people of Iran, are actually suffering from not having platform even in the Western media. Like in the Western media, you see that a lot of the apologists, a lot of those who supporting like the wrong narrative saying that we have moderate government in Iran, we have extremists. So this is the wrong narrative. This is a big lie. So and for that, people who are actually saying no to Islamic Republic, they want to get rid of the religious dictatorship, they want to have a secular democrat country, they never had a chance to be, you know, properly heard in New York Times, Washington Post, and like different reliable media abroad. That is why people decided themselves within the society to use their own camera, to be their own voices, to be their own media, to be their own platform. And this is the most important step to break the censorship, to break the fake narrative in the West saying that, you know, let the reformist government bring change within the society. For 2 years, we had like 2 massive protests. People were bravely chanting against the whole regime, saying that reformists, conservative, your time is over. And we want the whole cleric to be gone. You don't hear this narrative. Even during the election, all we hear in the West like saying, yeah, there is a competition between reformists and conservatives. That was a big lie because this is not a real election. This is a fake election. All the candidates were handpicked by the supreme leader of Iran. Even the former president of Iran was disqualified. The former speaker of the parliament was disqualified. Half of the population, women, they don't have candidate in this election. None of the opposition group, they don't have candidate in this election. Only those who show sufficient loyalty to the Islamic Republic and to the supreme leader are allowed to run for presidential election. And most ironic thing is, as a woman, I don't have the right to choose what I want to wear. You know, I don't have the right to ride a bicycle. I don't have the right to travel abroad without getting permission from my husband. I don't have the right to enter a stadium. I don't have the right to sing. By the way, I have a beautiful voice. I can sing for you.
Yeah, I heard you. I heard you in like one of the metro stations in London.
Yeah, I'm going to explain why I sang that one. But what I'm trying to say is simple. As a woman, I don't have the right to have the control over my own body, but I have the right to choose a president for my country. This means slavery. It means all the dear slaves, come and vote for me. I'm going to be the best master for you. So but when you say, what is the next step? When people are powerful to speak up, those are the society can make decision for their own government, what kind of government that we're going to have. But if the society and people are oppressive and don't dare to say no, then they're not going to come out. They're not going to make decision for like what kind of government we can have. For me, If a woman can say no to anyone who say cover yourself, the same woman can say no to dictator as well. That's the goal. And I want to give you one example. Mother of the people who got killed for 4 decades, they got united. And their video of saying no to voting, no to Islamic Republic, got more views than the supreme leader of Iran on social media. And another thing which shows you that how powerful is this, like giving platform to people, is for years and years, we the women had fear of our government inside. But now this is the government scared of its own people, its own women. For years and years, women were just running away from morality police. But now go and check the hashtag, my camera is my weapon. You see this is morality police running away from individual brave women saying, no, you don't have the right to make decision about my body. So that is the point. When you empower every individual in such a dictatorship country, they cannot go after every individual of them and oppress them. But if, like in Iran, we don't have political party, we don't have free media, we don't have free election. So they can easily go and shut down a party. They can easily go and shut down a movement, but they cannot go after every individual mother, daughter, father, and keep them silent. When you tell them that you have the power to bring change yourself, that's the point of giving voice to voiceless people. When you give them a voice, they are not victim anymore. They are warriors, and they can bring this regime down. This is my opinion, and I strongly believe that change will come within the society with the help of international community.
Definitely. What you're saying is very inspiring. But while like Philip was asking you about you providing a platform for Iranians outside, Luna, I want to know your opinion. In 2019, we had a platform inside the country. You filmed with the Friedrich Naumann Foundation a documentary on women in protest. And while you were filming, you had this trip down to memory lane. You were like reliving the revolution that happened in 2019. What got you the most when you were walking there, when you saw the platform that Lebanese women had inside their country?
Thank you for this question, Yara, because I always try to look back at what we went through in 2019. And I think that what got to me the most was how tired everyone is in Lebanon, how tired women are. Because one thing is that women in Lebanon, of course, they are mothers. But not all of them are mothers. Some of them are young women, activists, students. Some of them are not married but have their independent lives, but also have parents. The mothers had to bid their kids farewell when they left abroad because so many had to leave the country. Daughters were saying goodbye to their parents and to their friends because they were looking for opportunities abroad. So when I walked down those streets, I remembered how many people were forced to leave the country for two main reasons. Of course, one reason is the economic crisis, but the other reason is despair. And despair is led by two main factors. One, the thought of not being able to change anything because it's taking too much time, because the country is too exhausted. And the second thing is fear. When you see that you are attacked and that you are terrorized or that you are put in certain boxes and you are labeled as a traitor or as an agent of the West simply for going down to the streets. And we all remember, regardless of our religious backgrounds, sects, or affiliations with different revolution groups in Lebanon in 2019, every single person who went to the street was described to be an agent of the West or someone who is being paid from the West or from embassies to protest. Now, all of this caused despair, caused fear, and caused people to feel tired. Not to mention that when we did shoot that documentary, Yara, a colleague and a mentor had been assassinated in Lebanon. It had happened 1 week before the documentary was shot. Luqman Slim was killed, one of the most prominent Shiite figures in Lebanon, who is very firm when it comes to his political opinions regarding Hezbollah, the Shiite duo, and all of the political parties in Lebanon, actually, but specifically Hezbollah. This also caused more fear and more despair to Lebanese. And to some people, the streets no longer felt as safe as they were when we were protesting in 2019 and in 2020. But one thing remained is that so far no one painted over all of the graffitis, all of the things that friends, activists, and that we also wrote on some walls in Beirut, and not only in downtown. Wherever you walk in the city, someone left a piece of their mind on the walls. And this is something that hasn't been covered or that hasn't been painted on top. I'm not sure why, but this is, to me at least, a daily reminder that even though many are abroad, even though the country is on hold, we have an economic crisis, people are scared because we don't know what is going to happen next. This chapter of change in Lebanon is not over. Could be the elections, could be a new wave of protests, could be a group of women who decide that, no, we're not going to take this for an answer. We deserve a better country. But definitely this chapter is not over. So there was a bit of ache, but also there was a bit of hope somewhere, knowing that something is still yet to happen in the country.
As we both know that both of you are putting lots of expectations for the future of your countries, I want to tell you that unfortunately our time is approaching to the end. I need just 1 minute message from you, Masih. What do you have to say as a conclusion to our session today?
Okay. Today, I just shared a video of a Syrian father hugging her daughter after being apart from her for 11 years. So they were hugging each other in Turkey. It melted my heart because I myself haven't seen my family for 11 years. What I'm trying to say here that millions of us from Iraq, from Syria, from different countries in the region, being apart from our families, just because our dictators like Khamenei, Bashar Assad, or Hassan Nasrallah, they are being united. What I'm trying to say is this: if we don't get united, we are going to be forced to live in exile or being shot in the head or being tortured to death, one by one. That's my point. We, the women in the Middle East, carry the wounds of war on our body, the wounds of revolution, the wounds of discrimination, the wounds of poverty, the wounds of living in exile, the wounds of being oppressed. But these wounds, when they don't kill us, they have to make us powerful, and that there is only one way. We have to learn from our pain to be powerful, and if we are united, then we are stronger.
Luna, your 1 minute conclusion.
My conclusion is more of a hope. I don't want more people to leave their countries. In Lebanon, in Syria, in Iraq, in Iran, in every single country in the Arab region. We deserve better economies. We deserve democracies. We deserve differences in opinion. But we don't deserve to be exiled. We don't deserve to be killed, to be threatened, or to be forced to leave our countries. I never want to leave my country as a forced woman to let go. No, I want to be here. I want to go out to the world, learn more, get better opportunities, but never be exiled from my own country. So I hope that people in the Arab region and that women unite more so that we can end this exile and no more women will have to leave their countries and be forced to live abroad and to fight from abroad.
Dear Masih, dear Luna, thank you so much for joining this special episode of MENA on the Map. It was not only inspirational, but also it put like a very short roadmap for women in the region to know what to do next, Uniting was the message. Being together was the message. We are in this region together. The problem is that we're fighting for a very simple right, the right of expressing. And this is what we will keep on fighting for, in protests or even in peaceful settlements. Thank you so much. And now we're back to Madrid.